Islam, brothers and sisters.
Peace and greetings. We received a message in regards to the Stone of Destiny. This is by H4ZH43L. Islam. Some more information on the Stone of Destiny. And he's speaking in regards to the short that I uploaded about the Stone of Destiny being the Scottish symbol of nationality. We also showed how it was stuffed under the throne of England. That's the image I have on the short. It was speaking about it being stolen. So we'll go further into the Stone of Destiny or the Stone of Scone. Date of manuscript, May 17th, 1902. Coronation relics. Wonderful history of the Stone of Destiny in the throne of England. Legends of the Impula. Visitors to Westminster Abbey will notice in a niche not far from the crypt containing the tombs of many of the later kings and queens of England, two battered oaken chairs. The newer of these was made for the first double coronation when William and Mary were crowned together. The oldest, the original throne chair. The seat encloses the Stone of Scone, now nearly split in two and otherwise very much damaged. The Stone of Scone has a wonderful history, and if tradition can be depended upon, has visited almost many lands as the Union Jack of today floats over. For nearly 2,000 years, however, it has been borne its present name, the Stone of Scone. The town of Scone, situated on the east bank of the Tay in Gowrie, was the capital of Picts. It was first called the Stone of Destiny and was reverently kept at Scone for the coronation of the kings of Alban until Edward I of England conquered Scotland and carried it to Westminster. Many of the later kings of Scotland, notably Malcolm Canmore, Alexander III, Robert the Bruce, and James I were crowned there, as well as Charles II in 1651. Now, immediately I see Robert Bruce, and we have the demonstration about the Scottish Christian Kenneth More assisting Robert Bruce in fighting the Moors. And it said that they were celebrating cutting off 3 heads of the Moors, and it rang around the territory that one Christian Scottish Moor can kill 3 Moors, and so it was blazoned upon the Morrison coat of arms 3 Moors' heads. So they was fighting against the Moors, man, and taking over the Moorish Empire, like I always said, with Jacob at Bethel. Now, in regards to Jacob, that's Yaqub. The stone is said to be the one on which the head of Jacob rested at Bethel, when in a vision he saw the gates of heaven open and angels descending. The fall of man in regards to the Holy Moorish Quran and all.
Islamism. So now we'll go, and I automatically kept seeing the Plymouth Rock. So we'll go check that out real quick. Because keep in mind, the Lisbon earthquake, the Pangea, all the land was one at one time. So when it split, they still feel like that side is theirs. You have a Tangier in North America. So I'm going to go into this Plymouth Rock. This is historical sketches of Plymouth. This is from 1873. We'll go just to chapter 1. We'll go through some of the content though when what it speaks about. Its name when settled, the Shawnee tribe of Indians, which we spoke of Indians yesterday. Pardon self, let me shut this temple door. Pardon self, let me see what's going on. Hold on. Pardon self. So we'll go on to chapter 1, where it speaks of the Plymouth. It's very funny how it starts too. The early settlers were principally immigrants from New England. They were a hardy, robust class of adventurers. So it says they was immigrants. So in these days and times, what do they say? We don't want immigrants here. Well, your ancestors was immigrants here. Again, this is from Historical Sketches of Plymouth, page 36. The early settlers were principally immigrants from New England. But I want to read this part. In true Puritan style of their ancestral line, they brought with them the name of their new colony. It was an offshoot of the Rock of Plymouth, hollowed by the first footprints of their fathers when they stepped from the deck of the Mayflower upon the shore of a new world. But did they go through immigration? Did they get a green card or permission from the Aboriginal indigenous to occupy or settle on the land? No. The refugees of English intolerance had concentrated that rock, and the legacy came down to their children, and more to be revered as time and distance come a space. The Puritans under old John Robinson, their pastor, which means they was Christian, baptized the soil. What do you mean you're baptizing the soil? It's Aboriginal indigenous land. They first landed upon the new world. To them, it was new. They didn't establish anything with the name of Plymouth after the name of the last place they touched in the old previous to their embarkation. Why are you bringing stuff from your homeland over to a land that's not yours? Immigrants in time carried the name with them to Plymouth, but they're immigrants, just like in these days and times, where they say we don't want no immigrants. Well, your ancestors was immigrants in Litchfield County, Connecticut, and their children brought it to the shores of the Susquehanna. Our name, therefore, the landing of the pilgrims, which pilgrimage, they're taking a pilgrimage, but a pilgrim is a wanderer. On the 20th of December, 1620, upon the Plymouth Rock. So I feel like this Plymouth Rock has to do with the stone of scone or the stone of destiny. I feel like the Lisbon earthquake or the earthquake that caused the great divide between that empire over there reaching all the way over here has to do with this Plymouth Rock. Can't believe in these days and times they have nerve enough. And what's crazy is within this manuscript, it has Pike in it too. It has him in what chapter? I know I seen it. That. Let's see. I know I seen Pike. I want to see what they have to say, man. I'm gonna try to find it. Yeah, right here. Conduct of the British government. And then it has Pike. So that's chapter 8, page 200. So let's go to page 200, see what they're saying about Pike. So I broke down a little bit more, brother, about the Stone of Destiny, where it has to do with the Scottish Rite killing the Moors with Kenneth More and Robert the Bruce, who wanted his heart taken to Jerusalem because he didn't understand that the temple's within. So yeah, chapter 8, page 200. Let's go there real quick, if we can get to it like that. Page 200. Peace and love, brothers, sisters. Whoever sees this, peace and love to you, or love and peace. Got page 200. I'm gonna have to kick this fan on again. Hold on. It's kind of funny when I was looking through the Stone of Destiny, the manuscript I found has Pike in it. But also I want to speak about where it spoke of Kenneth the Moor and Robert the Bruce. That was the order of Christ against Islamism. And it just shows, I don't know, in regards of the 33rd parallel, north and south, I know that it was set up and then went dormant, and then Pike picked it back up. So after they done colonized and everything, did they not need it anymore? Let's see what they speak about with Pike. Moorestown. This is Washington's letter. Your most oldest servant, George Washington. So there may be a letter in here from Albert Pike. They got a letter from George Washington. We still just looking for the Pike. Here it goes. Miss Pike had an infant some 4 months old. We'll start here. A skirmish ensued. 2 of Franklin's men were wounded. The Indian party being too numerous for Franklin to contend with, they continued on to what is known as Pike's Swamp in the southern part of what is now Layman Township. Here they found Abraham Pike, a Plymouth man. Okay. I wonder if he was related and known for the rest of his life as the Indian killer. Well, in regards to the Indians, Indian is a misnomer. And his wife making sugar, Miss Pike had an infant son 4 months old. So I wonder if this was my bloodline. In regards to Albert Pike, I haven't heard of an Abraham Pike. Here they stayed overnight. In the morning, they took Pike and his wife prisoners. Binding the child up in a blanket, they threw it on the roof of the sugar cabin and hastened on with their prisoners. The lamentations of Miss Pike for her poor child, thus left to exposure and certain death, seemed to excite the feelings of the savages. After traveling a few miles, they halted, and upon consultation, they painted Miss Pike saying, "Jago squaw, go home, woman." She returned to her cabin, got her child, and fled to the settlement and gave the alarm, but the Indians were out of reach. Now, when they speak of Indians, again, there was India, people from India that assisted Great Britain to colonize, but there was also Moors that they misidentified and called Indian. It is an interesting fact that the bottom logs of this old cabin are still visible, and a gentleman informs me who visited the spot within the last year that the center of it stands a beech tree, some 2 feet in diameter. We also have the demonstration where they set up the spruce for Albert Pike, which is the acacia switch, which is what was used to smack the backs of people who was traitors, the acacia. Just like Noble Drew Ali, he's buried on the Acacia line. 91 years is as a long time for the foundational logs of Pike's cabin to resist the encroachment of the season. I remember seeing it a great many years since. It was then 3 or 4 courses of logs high. About the 3rd of April, they encamped for the night upon the Susquehanna, some 15 or 20 miles below the point. The quote unquote Indians, feeling that they were now safe from pursuit and upon the borders of their own possessions, made arrangements for a night of quiet repose. Not so with Abraham Pike. He was a British deserter. He had fought under that flag at Bunker Hill, and that Bunker Hill is known to the Moors also, with the green pine with the red flag, and that's Bunker Hill. He had fought under that flag at Bunker Hill and received a wound there. So he was fighting against the British colonization and received a wound there. An Irishman by birth and full of the idea of liberty, he made his escape and volunteered for a term of 2 years in the American Army. He had also been in the Battle of Wyoming, thus not only deserting the British ranks, but having openly fought against the British flag, which means that he was assisting the Moors. The Commonwealth is a loose confederation of the former British Empire, and those are in administration in the soil of America to this day. His Indian captors knew these things. He was now on the way to the British lines, and he would soon be handed over to the men whose cause he had abandoned. It's very crazy that Pike comes up in this. But nonetheless, we did the demonstration about the Stone of Destiny, the nationality of the Scottish. A lot of their ancestors assisted. Kenneth More, James I, which all of the pilgrims was running from King James because he was forcing the English tongue upon them and the Christian Bible. They wanted their old Latin tongue. But then there was some that was assisting. As you see, this was a Pike here fighting against the British, which is very fruition that I started this demonstration about the destiny of stone, and it ran right into Pike again. Pike whispered in his ear as we are crossing the stream, Jonah, don't close your eyes tonight. You always got to keep your head on a swivel, indeed. Yeah, I'm going to go through this. Again, we're going to do the John Brown too, because I have the image of John Brown being executed, but there's fezzes and tassels sitting there. And I spoke about that a couple demonstrations ago, about John Wilkes Booth dressing up and going to watch him get executed. Yeah, it was very interesting about the Stone of Destiny running into Pike, and he's Scottish. Yeah, we're going to do a little interlude right now. I ain't going nowhere though. I see nobody's got on yet, but it don't matter. I'm here to do my hour, take the charter off the wall, and I'm gone. See, what can we bring up for y'all? Hmm. The abbot.
Lamism developed in Tibet in the Tang dynasty and then passed into Mongolia and northeast China. Lamaism is the Buddhism practiced in Tibet. This type of Buddhism is the Indian Mahayana Buddhism, intermingled with elements of Asian Tibetan religion. High person indicates great stature in the Buddhist religion, a noble man of much wisdom and good works, standing higher than all others. Therefore, a high person, a Tibetan Buddhist Lama, is like the abbot in Chinese Buddhism. Abbots are the monks' instructors. They pass on their wisdom in the same way as any other type of teacher. The abbot.
Step down from me, 13 step. Stranger, who's black here, take first step. Savior, KRS is my nature. Then correction papers, I'm a motherfucking savior. Hey, give thanks to my makers, not just high. See you later to my haters. Keep it up and drop a planet on you traders. Easy flip, got full principle. The fifth is just, who damn government if not us, the people. Me and mama, the papa, come to us. Find them within the internal compass. Jump on the llama when the industry holds from the drama when it starts back up. More's on top where we are, cause it's worth more than just, hey, what's up for the slaughter? The abbot, the panda, nobody grander. The stature, Prophet Noble Ali is the answer.
The abbot, the abbot, the abbot.
Ali.
Yeah.
The abbot, the abbot, the abbot.
Ali.
A noble man, and much wisdom, and good work, The abbot.
I haven't brought us Islamism, no disunity or divisionism. He never died, he survived the great schism, avalanche, lies, and libel. He made us national, not tribal. In propria persona, don't throw away your Bible. Affirm, never swear, matriarch, not rival. Honors to the mothers, use a menstrual cycle to make Wiz title. I'm his disciple. Teachings of our abbot needs to go viral. We recycle Quran questions, recital, chakra spiral, lower self stifle, so delightful. Awaiting higher self arrival. Trained us to be mental fittest for survival. Gave up the slave tag for ancestral titles. Back from the dead when the abbot tapped my spinal. Not the heavy metal band, but the path of the left hand.
The abbot, the abbot, the abbot. The abbot, the abbot, the abbot. A noble man, and much wisdom, and good work, The abbot.
Developing inner self is like building physical muscle. Even when we're physically still, we live a spiritual hustle. Must you question our proper answers and lessons? Been in sessions with those that develop spirit like processions. The message is trust thyself. The more we know, balance with the more that we know the more we don't know. Gotta grow still. Decays the only other option. I don't like that feel, so I cut and connect with real. Not just to heal, to thrive. To escalate on interstate, what's focused on survive? We better now we rise. Devise plan, harmonizing my logic and inner man. Stand still, listen to inner voice, articulate real. Fulfillment of the goal of oneness is truly silence. Inner outer self is one. No plus, no minus, or minus. MYND or harmonization. Physical to spiritual, and us creations waiting.
The abbot, the abbot, the abbot. The abbot, the abbot.
Yeah.
A noble man, and much wisdom,
So yeah, let's go ahead and go look up the Kenneth the Moor, because that's what was in the demonstration with the Stone of Destiny. So a lot of the Scottish was definitely in participation with the Order of the Christ against Islamism and the Moors, all the way over to the North America, Central America, South, and adjoining islands. So I'll see if I can't bring up the Kenneth the Moor statement I have. It's already on here though. I don't know if I have it on the Cornish Temple. You can go on Instagram on the Cornish Temple too. Let's see if I got it up here. What we got? Got about 20 minutes. I want to read this real quick. During the Civil War, Were the Southerner rebels, as Lincoln called them, or were they citizens of an independent Southern nationality resisting foreign Northern aggression? If the Southerners were only rebels, if Lincoln was right, what right has England to say that she may lawfully treat Germany as the United States treated the Southern seceders? Why do we allow England to get away with the insult of applying and instituting new institutions? That's because they always working with them. But let's try to find this Kenneth the Moore. If I don't have it on the Instagram, I'm definitely going to put it up there, but I think I did already. Let's see. Well, it may not. Let's see if I have it over on the other drive. I have the video up on the YouTube right now, but you'll have to go. It's like probably in the middle of the middle of it, of the video. Rebecca. Ooh, that has to do with the Oddfellows. I didn't see that. Raised high cries at the top of his voice, Rebecca. A word of their own language, I am told, taken from the Moorish and signifying that whosoever shall outrage the law and his hospitality under his roof shall be his enemy to the death. Rekba, not Rebecca, Rekba. But where is that at? The Kenneth the Moor Slayer. And I have the King James as well. The King James killing the Moors. But I'd like to say honors to the one who sent the message to look more into the Stone of Destiny, because we found out a lot more about it, you know, and that's due diligence. That if that's a Moor, he cared more about your creed than you did. If that's a Moor, how can he care more about your creed than you? Because you didn't send a message saying go further into the Stone of Destiny. That's crazy. But if you are of Celtic bloodline, of the modern Celtic bloodline, honors to you for your due diligence. And if you're a Moor, honors to you for having more diligence than their own bloodline, which is very sad. Here, 700 years ago at Almanara, King James conquered the Moorish rulers of Valencia province, and the Romans, many centuries before, knew the military importance of its strategic hills. And that's exactly who was assisting with the King James, and they mentioned Kenneth and Bruce, all that. All of them was trying to kill the Moors, just like all the way over here now. But I want to find that Kenneth the Moor Slayer, so we'll go to the YouTube channel. We might have to go through the whole video though. Let's see if we can find it. Yeah, I know which one I'm gonna go over. Now, this is about to be potent, brothers and sisters.
Legend of the Shamrock. The shamrock, or small white clover, is almost universally worn in the hat over all Ireland on St. Patrick's Day. The popular notion is that when St. Patrick was preaching the doctrine of the Trinity to the Irish, he used this plant bearing 3 leaves upon one stem as a symbol or illustration of the great mystery. But it is certainly a curious coincidence. In Arabic, is called shamrath and was held secret in Iran as emblematic of the Persian triads. Pliny, in his natural history, says that.
Did you hear that? It was originally the Moors. Like I'm telling you, everything came from the Moors.
Arabic is called Shamrath and was held secret in Iran as emblematic of the Persian triads. Pliny, in his natural history, says that serpents are never seen upon trefoil, and it prevails against the stings of snakes and scorpions. It is said that in Galti or Galtic Mountains, situated between the counties of Cork and Tipperary, there are 7 lakes, in one which, called Lue Delvine, it is said St. Patrick, when banishing the snakes from Ireland, chained a monster serpent, telling him to remain there till Monday. The serpent every Monday morning calls out in Irish, "It is a long Monday, Patrick." That St. Patrick chained the serpent in Low Delvine, and that the serpent calls out to him every Monday morning, are firmly believed in the lower orders who live in the neighborhood of Loaf. Now, we have already did demonstrations in regard to Eunice Day with the Moors, and they already break down that the so-called snakes are the Moors. They was ran out of Ireland. It says snakes in Ireland. Inquisitive man wanted to test truth of St. Patrick legend. So he took out a bunch of snakes, man, to see if that they could live. And he wasn't thinking esoteric. He was thinking exoteric. That's why we're doing this right here, brothers and sisters, because you're thinking exoteric. You need to think deeper. They're hiding the history.
You got to think bigger.
Greatest of St. Patrick miracles was that of driving the venomous reptiles out of Ireland. And they're calling this a miracle. People being ran off of their land and rendering the soil forever after so obnoxious to the serpents that they instantaneously die touching it. Cogan seriously relates that St. Patrick accomplished this feat by beating a drum, which he struck with such fervor that he knocked a hole in it, thereby endangering the success of the miracle. But an angel appeared, mended the drum, and Pat's instrument was long exhibited as a holy relic. You hear that? A holy relic. They're playing games with you, man. So why didn't our foremothers and forefathers record the true history and come out and tell us that, hey, the Moors, the Christians, the Islam, the Holy War, why didn't they come out and tell us? Or why didn't they take the time to preserve our information instead of following holy days or holidays? I'm sorry, you don't call it holy days. They're too busy with the childish ways, and they don't even know the meaning of these stories. He took the snakes out there. He took the snakes out there, and it really means the Moors. It is said that one Kenneth More accompanied Lord James Douglas into Spain with the heart of Robert the Bruce in 1330. When the 2 Scottish men arrived in Spain, they found King Alonso VI engaged in war with the Moors and accepted his invitation to join the Christian forces, getting in stuff that they had no business getting into. Now, them saying Spain, that's very ambiguous. Anywhere they conquered, they'd call Spain, because they Islam, the Holy War. Why didn't they come out and tell us? Or why didn't they take the time to preserve our information instead of following holy days or holidays? I'm sorry, you don't call it holy days. They're too busy with the childish ways, and they don't even know the meaning of these stories. He took the snakes out there. He took the snakes out there, and it really means the Moors. It is said that one Kenneth More accompanied Lord James Douglas into Spain with the heart of Robert the Bruce in 1330. When the 2 Scottish men arrived in Spain, they found King Alonso VI engaged in war with the Moors and accepted his invitation to join the Christian forces, getting in stuff that they had no business getting into. Now, them saying Spain, that's very ambiguous. Anywhere they conquered, they'd call Spain, because they got Old Spain, New Spain. Then one day the story runs, Kenneth slew 3 Moors and cut off their heads. And shout went up from the ranks, one Scottish Christian Moor can kill 3 Moors, they said. And so it came about that 3 Moors' heads were blazoned on the Morrison coat of arms. When they just talking about the tribe